Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Product and Cake. We are here, believe it or not, again in the virtual studio, and again not alone. We have a fantastic guest, and I have a fantastic co-host. Welcome, Gonche. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm really good, and it's really sweet that you introduced me like that. I like it.
Yeah.
But I'm really honored today because I'm speaking with not one, but two published authors. And yeah, again, it's amazing. So today in the virtual recording studio with us is Chakameh Shafii, and she is currently the head of product management, data, and AI at Zalando. But she has a huge track record in the startup world in Berlin, within specifically health tech world in Berlin, as far as I remember. But right now, heading the product management and data and AI at Zalando. How you doing, Chakameh?
Hello, I'm good. Thanks for that introduction and perfect pronunciation of my name. That rarely happens in my life.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, so great that you are taking the time. I'm super looking forward to dive into your knowledge and experience about product and AI. But before we jump into, let us start with a check-in question. And I would like to know from you, where would you like to move when you retire?
That's a hard question, and I think it's changed over time. So two contexts I think that would be useful here. One is that I'm from Canada, and I have within me an immigrant who grew up in a capitalist environment that tells me retirement is not something that I aspire to. So it's not like I'm not like in this context of the European definition of retirement. The second thing is that I now have a little girl and I would like to be close to her. So I would not want to move too far from her. So I think whichever city that we end up living in is probably where I'll retire.
Awesome. Yeah. So you give up this decision. Sounds like a good one. What about you, Gonche?
I agree. It's really a hard question. Even though I unlike Chakameh, I really think about retirement a lot.
Yeah.
Not about only like not working part, because I enjoy work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy value creation with some air quotes around, because not every day in product world is value creation. But I enjoy and I have fun sometimes with work. But I think I would really like to maybe just get a sailing boat and sail around the world. Maybe not a single location, I would say. Let's see. Let's see at the time that I get to retirement age if I can handle being on a sailing boat. Or I'm going to just go directly to an old people's house. No one knows. How about you, Paul?
Yeah, I have a very clear vision. I have 3 little girls here, and I think they will spread across the planet most likely. And I want to go to a small village somewhere in the Brandenburger nature, where the countryside looks nice, but it's not so overwhelming, right? Where it is just green and a little cow and a few trees and so on. And I would like to sit there in my house and just write books and maybe record podcasts with you, Gonche, and with great guests.
Oh, nice.
And, sitting there and calling that retirement. But I have a pretty clear vision of that already.
No.
So I'm surprised that this question is difficult for you.
Hopefully I have a good, stable internet connection on the boat.
Chances are pretty good.
Yeah. All right. So let us start after this quick breaking the ice and getting to know our retirement plans. But let's come back to reality quickly, and let's quickly talk about how can you explain your job, Chakameh, right now to people who don't know it?
My current job?
Yeah. What do you do at the moment?
That's a hard one. So I think hopefully most of your listeners have heard of AI by now and how it's just a buzzword used all the time. one of the things that I do is to think about how AI can be useful in reducing the cognitive load of our colleagues internally and of our customers externally, and translating that in a way that is useful so that they can imagine how it would fit into their products, so other product managers, and how they can make better decisions for commercial leaders, and then hopefully for our customers to never feel its existence. So that's basically the kind of work that we try to do.
Awesome. So you are kind of lifting the carpet and show the real value of AI somehow. And would you describe your job role then like a product operations person?
No, we build algorithmic products and data products within our team. So my everyday is kind of working very closely with applied scientists primarily, but also with data engineers and economists who help me define experiments and tests, but also working with other software product managers and software teams who potentially could use some of the algorithms and support them in kind of thinking through how the UI and the UX could enable improvement in the algorithm and how the algorithm can also improve the UI and UX. So it's kind of like both a little bit.
Interesting. Can you quantify a bit your company and your team with how many people you are working and how many of them are in product and tech, so we get a little bit a rough idea about size?
So I work at Zalando, and specifically Lounge at Zalando is the organization that I work with. I sit within the Department of Data Science, so we are called Data and AI. That's our team, so Data Platform and AI. And that's a 70 people team, primarily applied scientists and software engineers. And I've recently joined, so I joined last August to help build our product within the department. So we haven't traditionally had a data and AI product development department within Lounge. And so I initially started by just kind of my first deliverable was what is our AI strategy here? And then based on that, now I'm building a team. And the product team specifically that I currently have is 4 people. And we also have product analytics that is within the product management team.
Nice.
So we have 4 PMs and 1, and then we're always hiring. So in case anyone's interested.
For sure, there will be a lot of people who would be interested in the role. What you mentioned and I really liked was you're also trying not to showcase AI so much and to make it super bold and make it useful while being invisible. And I think that's something that is forgotten or is overlooked at the moment because every product that I visit, they have a huge banner, AI, this one is AI. And most of the time it's the same basic algorithm that they've used for many years, but now they can add an AI badge and call it new.
That's right. And I wonder if as consumers, how much we like to see that and hear that all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. And how did you end up here?
That's a really interesting question. And as you mentioned in your introduction, I've historically been in healthcare. I love healthcare. I have a very strong part of me that once wanted to stay in healthcare for as long as I can. But healthcare and specifically the startup world in healthcare is extremely underfunded. Unless you're working for some of the big unicorns in America, which are in the payer space and the B2B space rather than B2C, which is where my kind of passion is at. They're quite underfunded. So what that means is that at, my previous role as a VP of product, it's just you have to work so hard that you're always at the edge of burnout. And as many of your listeners in product understand. And so I took a little break to kind of figure out what I want to do next. And during that time, I really focused on family, and I got certified as a yoga teacher. And a friend sent me this job which he was like, it seems like very interesting. Just look at it. And I did, and I had a chance to talk to the hiring manager, who is now my boss. She's the VP of Data and AI. And I admired her so much. I was like, oh wow, this woman has passion. And side note, I've never had a female manager. I would love that. And I was like, so much I can learn from her. And so I kind of just put that into my main perspective, rather than the fact that I would be joining a fashion company. I love Zalando. It's full of really interesting people. But if you'd asked me a year and a half ago, would I end up here? I would have said definitely not.
Interesting. I also had a woman as my manager, and interestingly, my learning curve with her was at least tenfold with their male counterparts. So it is really interesting. We need to dive into that conversation deeper at some point. But you mentioned that right now you're starting the team and you're building the team yourself, and you joined also in August. And before you joined, or if your role disappears tomorrow, what would break first? And what was breaking before you joined that they were like, oh, we need someone from product here?
Okay. It's easier if I answer the question of why my manager decided that we need to have a product leader in this role. So, and actually, this is not a unique case. So it might often happen that sometimes people view, at the moment, algorithmic solutions as kind of lipsticks, as a way to solve a very small problem. So looking at it more of like a service. Can I get this built? And for this very small, very specific objective. And what you miss with that opportunity, or the way you kind of like just go and build these point solutions, is what algorithmic solutions could actually provide, which is holistic solutions. How you can solve problems more, fundamentally, rather than always building point solutions, investing every time on new experimentation, new testing, new design, new rollouts. And so we were at this point where we are actually in a really exciting place within such a big company, that the lounge organization is quite small, and our data and AI team supports all of our functions, B2B and B2C. And our team was just like, stretched super thin, delivering point solutions all the time, and missing the bigger opportunity of what AI can actually deliver for both sides of our customers. And so that was the reason why my manager knew something was not fit. She's not a product person. She's a scientist and economist by trade. And she knew that there is an opportunity to do things better, and that we were missing a vision from our team, from the scientific perspective. And that little bridge was what I was coming in to help them cross, and also give them a little bit more focus on what are the opportunities that we need to kind of invest in the next 3 to 5 years. And that's kind of why I came in. Now, if I'm, the bus factor comes into the question here. What happens if I'm gone tomorrow? And I'm hoping that what I have provided so far prevents any immediate harm. But maybe in the midterm to long term, we might fall back into that old habit of point solutions. I hope we don't, but there's that risk.
Awesome. That points very well into the direction for product people in general to be interested, right? And to connect the dots and to bring different perspectives together. That sounds super interesting, but I could imagine there are maybe also a lot of misconceptions. So what's a misconception people have about what you do?
Yeah. What's a misconception? I mean, I can just bring up an example of like when I first joined and I presented that strategy. What are you doing here? There's existing PMs who are creating the vision of what the app should look like, or what we should do with. We have other PMs who are working on these solutions. And there is this misconception that algorithmic products are the same as software products, and that we should be looking at them and setting up their success metrics the exact same way. And when I was doing one of these like enablements to our teams, I gave them this example of you have to think about an algorithmic product as a very lazy employee, that it will find the fastest way to achieve its objective without considering other parts of the damage they could create. And that's the nuance there, that you have to think about how you set up its metrics, how you set up its success and KPIs such that you are driving in the right direction. And obsessions that we have and I have been a traditional PM before, the obsessions we have about like very basic, like very detailed design concepts and UI concepts, which are so important. And we think about how this tiny change would make an impact on our customers. In this case, is a little bit different. We don't need, as product managers, to think about the weight of this feature versus another. We actually need to be able to identify the problem we're trying to solve and give it the right direction and have a little, I don't want to say let's trust AI, but I'm just saying have faith in experimentation. So focus more on how you experiment and evaluate rather than how you go into the details of the weight of the features and things like that.
That is really, really interesting. And I really like the example you gave and how you created the visual, at least in my brain, how to treat AI and AI products. And what's the biggest challenge you're tackling at the moment?
Let's see. My number one, like today is an interesting day. I would love to have more experienced AI PMs join my team. That's that's one of the challenges I'm having today. But I think your question's not this, I know.
It is part of it because that is part of your world as a product person in this organization working on this part of the product. And currently in the industry, we do not have a lot of expert product managers in AI that are looking for a role at the moment.
Yeah,
So
that's a really hard truth.
Yeah, I do consider that a very valid challenge, and it's part of your world. So
yeah, so let's stick with that one. That's my challenge right now.
But if you have other challenges, feel free to share them.
But I would say this is the primary one right now. Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
When you compare your years of experience before ChatGPT kicked in, how would you say, or can you describe maybe a little bit how AI shapes your role or how it is changing? Is there maybe any thought?
So I'll kind of answer it in two ways. As a person who would use AI, it has made my life incredibly easier. I can do things faster, and it's helpful. So I cannot imagine not having it anymore. It's great. It goes from idea to something much quicker if you know how to use it. But as a product manager building solutions, it has made things more complicated in a sense that there are so many more ways and options and misconceptions that we have to navigate through when we're building products. And yeah, I'll go with that. And I don't think this is necessarily really, yeah, ChatGPT as a consumer improved it, like LLMs, but like I think Lord also mentioned that AI has been in use for a while. We have been using it for optimization and other kind of use cases. So I guess in that sense, people who've been doing this for a while, ChatGPT just increased this like buzzword cycle that gets everybody who wants to use AI now, and all these random use cases that do not need AI are now coming, towards us to be like, I want an AI solution. You're like, you don't need one. So I guess in that sense, it's a little bit more complicated. But as a user, I love it. So.
Yeah, I feel very much the same. I think this publishing of ChatGPT was showing everybody, okay, it is here and look how easy it is to use. And I am facing from time to time the problem that I tell somebody, hey, from the tech perspective, what you suggested is just not possible because of this and that and our architecture. And then 2 hours later, I get an email. Hey, look, Paul, I've wrote a little bit about the stuff we talked about. And then boom, 20 pages of ChatGPT answer. And yeah, then you sit in front of that and thinking, when you trust this generated text more than the experience I have in building the product, then where should that end? Maybe.
No, I was just going to say, like, people like pushing stuff into these LLMs and then coming back and say, like, I now have a plan. First of all, here's the strategy and here's the execution steps. So I can technically just follow this, and you're just like, okay.
Yeah, good luck. We see us back in 7 days when nothing is working. Maybe that is also a good transition to my next question. What is an overrated versus an underrated way AI is used in product management?
Okay, my overrated might be a little bit controversial and maybe incorrect. I'm open to being wrong because I don't maybe have a better answer. But some of this like vibe coding or using of solutions like Replit and Lovable, I'm a big fan of fast prototyping. I'm just not sure if we're using it for the right cases. And whether or not we're using it because it's there or we're using it because we've actually done the product work and identified a problem. That's why I feel like it's made it too easy to just use an LLM to spin something up. And that's not necessarily a good thing because that means we're solutioning before having done the product work. So I think that could be a little bit of like a yellow beige flag. Um, underused is communications. I think we can improve our communications and deliver really good quality content. I'm not saying content for marketing, but just like things that we're writing. If we use LLMs in the right way. So I think, of course, you have to use regulated. So, I mean, we're lucky. I work at a big organization we have our own like LLM solutions that we can use. At a startup, you have to be a little bit more worried about what you're using and how you're using it. But there's also opportunities to use content that's not like confidential and just get feedback on what it can be used for. And secondly, if you have the ability again at your organization or your startup's willing to pay, or you have 19, 20 euros a month to pay for it to upgrade to one of these really good reasoning models, they're great for brainstorming. My pet peeve is when I see one prompt, one result that being copy pasted in a document, and that's the brainstorming I've done. That's not okay. That's really like that's, just calling it in. And that's the kind of person who should be worried about how AI is going to replace them. But if you're really thinking smartly about what you can use these things for, they're great for brainstorming. O3 is great for brainstorming. Claude 3.7 is great for brainstorming. Again, be careful about the information you share with them. But I think that's underused.
All right. And in connection to that, and I also agree with this pet peeve that you just have ask one thing and it just answers you that tiny little line, and then that's it, and you leave it instead of actually asking it to ask you questions, and then you answer those questions and ask it to ask more questions. But also, I don't know if you've seen it recently or not, that Sam Altman mentioned that saying please and thank you is making them spend a lot of money on electricity bills. So all of this brainstorming that we do, every prompt, every single word that we add to all of this brainstorming has on the other end a huge environmental impact. And how do you view that as someone who works directly with AI day in, day out?
I think about that every day. So since reading that report, I think it was the Economist report, please correct me if I'm wrong, that started this whole conversation around calls and their correlation with bottles of water. And that's where actually I brought up this, the replets and those kind of solutions where we're just calling them and using them without actually needing to. The second part is not using G's solutions instead of Google. Like, please Google things. Don't ask ChatGPT for like things you can Google because it is It is, yeah. But this like sorry and
Exactly.
please and thank you is actually an issue for people like me who are Canadian. Like I have to say thank you. Like it's I heard that from Sam Altman. I'm trying to take it back. I can't.
Yeah, and the challenge is, on the other hand, we've seen some information that if you use please and thank you and be more polite with the tool, it performs much better. So on the other hand, like, do I want to be polite and make the tool perform better, or do I want to be environmentally friendly? So it creates another level of dilemma there.
No, but you're absolutely right on do we need to like I don't think we need to be brainstorming with it every day.
Yeah.
It depends on your job and what you're doing and where you are in terms of like your strategic thinking or brainstorming sessions. But like I don't think this is something we should be using every day. We should also rely our own intelligence and trust ourselves. But I just said like, in case you are looking to try them out, I think content and brainstorming are good partners.
It becomes so complicated when you need to have an overview about all the different LLMs and then also about the energy consumption, and you need to know upfront, okay, should I Google that or should I brainstorm it? And definitely in interesting times we are living in, and stuff we are working with, right? And we will form how that thing is used based on how we create the products in the end. I mean, that is nice. Let us do it with our brain power and not with LLM answers. When you look, Chakameh, when you look at the place you are in at the moment, what's one thing you wish you had learned earlier in your career?
Okay, two things. One is I would have believed in my worth more. I think if I can go back in time, I would have told myself to have more confidence in what you bring to the table and don't allow, yeah, the environment in which you work, which is, tech primarily dominated by men, who are just not comfortable with some of the things you're saying. Don't let that stop you. And the second thing would have been to, which is which is an advice my parents have been giving me since I was born, and that is to be more patient. And I would give myself that advice again if I could go back and say, play the longer game when it comes to product development, when it comes to user behavior change, and be more patient with trying to move the dial when it comes to changing things. Those are the two things.
I can relate to that very much, especially this patient thing. It feels like, hey, damn it, I did so much things and nothing is happening, and then giving up and saying, okay, never ever anything will change. And then you look back 6 months and you realize, oh my gosh, everything changed. Everything is different. That is very good to get an external perspective on that from time to time. And for the first point, what I recently discovered is that ChatGPT becomes much, much more friendlier, right? And such a good counterpart when I create something and I'm super unsure and I don't know, is that a good idea or not? Then I throw it into, and it is so friendly and is saying, hey, yeah, you're doing a good job. Continue. Your thoughts are so important. Just one tiny thing here on the side. I really like that. You can really boost your ego.
And
with
do you
that.
take like does it actually have a positive impact on you? Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I take it as I mean, it read everything on the world, right? So who else did that and can give a better opinion?
I love that. That's so funny.
That's amazing. That's something to aspire to, I think. Just like allow ChatGPT to help you feel better. Yeah.
All right. And Chaka, what is a strong product opinion that you have that not everyone agrees with? Something like your product hot take.
This is really hard. A product idea I can't really specifically answer, but I do have an opinion of an industry that I think I've already talked about that I think is is overlooked and is underfunded. I believe that the definition of a good life is a healthy life, is a life spent outside hospitals, outside doctor offices, and spent with people you love. And well-being is at the center of that. And as tech people, trying to support this is one of the most difficult product works that we could have, because it requires people to change their behaviors when they don't want to. It requires them to have to engage longer rather than taking medications immediately. And most importantly, requires venture funds that do not exist in this industry because they don't, print cash as much as some other industries do. And so it might not be something that everyone agrees with, but I think it's one of the most important areas, maybe close to climate change, that we should be spending most of our energies and efforts trying to figure out how tech can support a healthier, more well-lived life.
Yeah, that is fantastic. I really want to underline it because I totally agree. And I, especially in Germany, see the system of health that is really not about prevention and very much on the side of, okay, let's keep the people alive, whatever it costs. When they are sick, then keep them alive for 10 more years. We can make a lot of money with that. That is a huge, huge challenge, and bringing a new technical philosophical aspect into that is a huge challenge, yeah. But I think it would be very, very beneficial.
And actually, the regulations, which are a good thing that exist in healthcare that don't exist in most other industries, make it even more difficult to use AI solutions in the right way. And so an additional product challenge, which I am sure with the amount of intelligence that we have as product people in this world, we could solve given the right environment and resources.
Wow, yeah. Fantastic. Now my brain is working about a lot of ideas and stuff. But Gonche, I think we planned something else, right? To lose, instead of losing ourselves in new product ideas, we want to hear some super tight answers in our yay nay game.
Yes, this is a game we play at the end of every episode. It's a yay nay game, so I will say some small statements and in a rapid fire way. Actually, it's not that rapid because sometimes I want to dig a little bit deeper why you say yay or nay, but we consider it rapid fire still. We will go through these dilemmas and you can just tell me if you agree with that statement, the yay, or if you don't agree with the nay. So, the first one, are you ready?
Yes.
All right. So, stakeholders insist on setting feature deadlines without consulting the product team.
Yeah, yay. Wait,
You
sorry.
agree?
Am I saying agree that this is correct?
Yes.
Or do I agree that this is right?
You agree that this is a correct way of doing things in the product and
No,
tech
then
world.
no. Nay.
Okay. All right. I was so shocked for a second. I mean, I do see the point of sometimes setting some deadlines for specific things because it is going to be released for a certain event. It's like if you're planning a concert and the tickets need to be sold on the platform by a certain date. So yes, for sure. Please set a deadline for that as a stakeholder. But in general, I agree with you. Paul,
So how
you
should
wanna
we
add
do it
something?
then? Yeah, I want to add a follow-up question, because how should we do it if we have this one big health tech fair that is only happening every 2 years and we spend a lot of marketing money to get this booth in the entrance room, and the new version of the app with that nice new product features has to be ready on that date. And sorry, we booked it already. We can't pull it back. It costs us 2.5 million euros. We will meet every important stakeholders of our company.
Welp. No, but seriously, I think the issue would be without consulting the product team. You can discuss it and say, okay, some things cannot get there. Some things can. Let's look at the prioritization and what can be done. What are the most important or like the hero features you want to have by then? But in general, I agree that sometimes due to external circumstances such as market change, COVID, some things like this, you need to have very certain deadlines that you cannot change as a product team, and the stakeholders will set that for you. So.
And we have no AI. Why is not vibe code something? Oh, damn it. I had too many of that discussions recently. So maybe one just small addition. You cannot accelerate your product tech team with just throwing money of it, right? With just throwing more people in it, it will not accelerate immediately. So better consult your product tech team and find the hero products, hero functionality, as you said, Concha.
True. All right, the next one. The product team defines success metrics that are entirely revenue focused.
What is the product?
Not defined here.
This is if it's a consumer product or customer facing part of the product, not a good idea. If it's some solutions, including many algorithmic products, where the intention is to support the business, could be a primary objective.
Yeah, I also would agree. I say depending on the responsibility, it can be the best metric. Also, to be honest, at some certain level in the product world, I think the teams need to own part of the revenue metrics. So it depends where they are, but they need to understand how their main metrics impacts their revenue. So even if they're in the very top of the funnel, so the team who owns a search function on Zalando, for example, needs to know how their work impacts revenue at the end of the day. They don't directly own revenue, but that's my take here. What do you think, Chakameh?
+1 on what you just said. Yeah, definitely.
Good to hear. Alrighty, then next one. Customer retention rates are improving, but the team decides to focus solely on acquiring new users.
Is it just one team and their retention rate, they're improving? Yeah, that's fine. I mean, maybe they're looking to expand. They want to get new customers. The retention rate's improving, which means the product is in a solid state. So maybe they could shift focus for a little bit.
Alrighty, last but not least, a product manager believes their job is only to manage the backlog, not to define the product strategy.
Such a hard night.
Nice.
I don't think we need to explain this to anybody.
I think it's perfect.
No, right? Like, we're not project managers. We're not scrum masters. We're product managers. Our primary responsibility is to take very complex problems, make them understandable for everybody in different languages of tech, business, and just validate problems and find opportunities. Like, our job is not to actually, like, the delivery part of our job is maybe a third of it.
Okay, that sounds already a little bit like the answer of my next question, but maybe you find another one. So if you could give every product tech person one reminder for this week, what would it be?
Look at everything you're working on this week and ask whether or not it's a problem worth solving. Yeah.
That requires a lot of self-reflection.
ChatGPT apparently can help.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, but really, right? I mean, don't hesitate if it is okay from the data security perspective to throw in your to-do list and a picture of your calendar and ask, give me the list of problems I'm solving here. Could be a starting point, right?
But yeah, in general, I do think it's important as product leaders or commercial leaders, what we're always looking for with product managers is not just yes sayers. What we're looking for are people who challenge us, but come to us with solutions. So rather than saying, yeah, this is a good problem, let me go solve it, is to tell me if that's even a good problem to solve. And if not, why not? If yes, how will we do it? So I think this is like a very big task the PMs often forget, especially in bigger organizations, because they feel the pressure of hierarchy and, I don't know, some politics. And I think that's where we lose the thread. Like, it's very important for us to remember our primary job is to validate problems and just do things that are meaningful.
That's very beautifully said. And I think with that, as a very nice last reminder, we can conclude this podcast, this episode. And thank you so much, Chakameh, for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us. It was lovely having you. And where can people find you if they have any questions for you?
LinkedIn. That's the only place. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. That's the most
they can
common
find
answer.
me. They can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I will not see them because I don't use these anymore. I just haven't deleted my account.
Yeah. All right. So you can head out to LinkedIn and look for Chakameh. If you have any questions for her, if you are interested in the roles in her team, maybe you can apply. Apply if you're great at AI and product management.
Mention the podcast so you have better chances.
Yeah, definitely. Put it in.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was very inspiring and very important to hear. So thank you very much. And for every listener, please also follow our Product and Cake LinkedIn page. LinkedIn is the place to be, it seems like. So don't forget to subscribe and recommend this episode to everybody.
Thank you. Bye.